Hi everyone, just doing another quick update on the intercooled turbo diesel motorcycle. I also had someone post about wanting some more detailed information as far as how I installed my Jackshaft, and I'll go on into that here in the middle of the video. But first I just wanted to go over a couple quick things that I've added to the bikes. As you can see, I've got some ammo cans that I put for saddlebags on the rear, as well as some teardrop tail lights, like the old hot rod styles with the blue crystal in the center. And I haven't gotten them wired up yet, but I can't wait to see what they look like once they're working properly. Still using the old sheet metal seat. Haven't been able to find anything better yet, or stumble across anything, because this is still a budget build, and all in all I've got about less than 2,000 wrapped in the whole bike. The other thing I've done recently is I put two brand new master cylinders for the front and rear brakes, because the old ones, I guess the seals were just worn out and they wouldn't hold pressure. You'd have to pump them up 3, 4, 5 times even to get it to even start slowing the bike down, so that got a little dangerous. And I figured if there's one system on this bike that I don't need to cut any corners on, and that's the brakes. But one of the other things I changed is originally I had this breather right here mounted right here on the side of the valve cover. And the issue I was having was oil, I guess, would be sloshing around up underneath this valve cover, and it'd get into the beginning of this opening, and as the pressure vented from the crankcase, it would start filling this with oil, and it'd get so saturated that it'd just start dripping. Well, I figured, okay, well maybe if I added a piece of hose and extended the length, that might help. So my original hose was a lot smaller than this, and it ran from here all the way up to the top of the breather. Well, to the top where the breather is. But the problem with that is oil would still get in there, and the tube was so small that the gases couldn't pass by the oil and escape without bringing the oil up the tube with it. So my most recent modification is to put this big piece of tubing, which is also the same tubing that I used on my turbo oil return line, and it's big enough to where the gases and the oil can come out through the small opening right here. And as they get on in towards the pipe is big enough, or the tube is big enough, for the gases to pass on by, but the oil to gravity feed back into the crankcase. And so far it's working great. I haven't had any oil running down the frame at all, looks like this modification is holding up pretty well. But I guess on down to the to my Jackshaft. Let me grab a flashlight over here. The Jackshaft is a 3/4 inch. It started out as 18-inch long keyed shaft that I bought from McMaster Car, and the pillow blocks are from Northern Tool, and I've got them bolted to a piece of square stock that I've cut and welded together to make a kind of a U-shaped, upside down U-shaped loop that runs from one base of the frame rail up over to the other side and then back down, and that helps keep the pillow blocks parallel with each other, as well as, since they're right here welded to the same spot on the frame on each side, it helps keep the Jackshaft parallel with the actual frame, or technically perpendicular to the rear tire. But I've got them to where I can unbolt the locking nuts right there and slide some washers or shims in behind it to adjust how close the center to center is for my Comet CVT torque converter. And I guess I'll go over this real fast too. Those are some rubberized motor mounts that I have found that are actually originally designed to go underneath air compressor legs when you have an air compressor bolted to like a shop floor, and it helps absorb some of the vibration. And I have those bolted to the motor, and they're bolted to some flat stock, and that flat stock is, as you can see, it's welded directly to the base of my frame to help keep the motor as low in the frame as possible. I've got that front and rear. On the front, it actually extends out past the frame, so I had to weld in some small support legs, and luckily that support leg also doubled as a mount for my intercooler later on down the road. I guess I'll go over to the other side now. As you can see, on this particular design, I think I explained this in my first video, I actually had to end up spacing my CVT transmission far enough away from the frame so that when this belt right here dropped down further into the pulleys, when it increased the gear ratio and the pulley actually expanded, it would not interfere with that bolt right there. And so this is as close to the frame as possible, so unfortunately I had to bring the driver pulley all the way out to match the driven pulley, and that meant putting a bunch of washers behind the driver pulley on the crankshaft right there, because my goal was still to try to keep the motor as centered to the bike as possible. But yeah, as you can see, the pillow block on this side is just bolted straight through with lock nuts, nylon lock nuts on the back to hold it together. I've actually added some shaft collars to the inside on both sides, right there, as well as right down in there. And those are just some added protection to make sure the shaft doesn't want to walk back and forth inside of the pillow blocks. But I guess all things work out for a reason, because the added spacing of my pulleys away from the frame helped give me some more room for the oil supply line, so it can run on over and then back up to the top side of the turbo right there. But that's pretty much it as far as the most recent modifications to the bike. If anybody has any other questions about how I've built anything on here, please feel free to ask. Thank you.